The funding of the U.S. schools comes primarily from federal, state, and local levels. The debate in each state across the nation rages on as to how to most efficiently fund schools. Throughout this short presentation, we will examine the pros and cons of these funding sources. The right to an equitable education has been established as a constitutional right for all students, regardless of race, gender, native language, and income level. However, in practice, funding for public schools has not always shown to be as equitable as our founding fathers intended. William J. Price stated, "It has been said that education is a federal interest, a state responsibility, and a local function. The U.S. Constitution actually prohibits the federal government from having direct control over education." It's interesting to consider the potential cost sharing in education. If only states found more ways to work collectively, or if federal government played a greater role. Current systems are by no means streamlined or efficient. One would think that the federal government spends extensively to fund the nation's public schools. However, only 8% of the funding of a public school comes from the federal government. The federal government, on average, spends $79 billion per year on schools, compared to $721 billion per year on our military. The federal government determines how much to allocate to each state based on the number of students in each state and each state's wealth. Money is distributed through programs such as Title I and Head Start. K-12 education is funded at the federal level through a variety of laws and programs. Some of those laws are No Child Left Behind, the Individuals with Disabilities Act, Education Sciences Reform Act, and some programs such as Title I and Reading First. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act provides money to schools to help students with disabilities get a quality education in the public school system. This money provides for the resources those students need to succeed. One reason federal funding has not provided the equity needed to close the achievement gap is the landmark Supreme Court case San Antonio Independent School District v. Rodriguez. The court ruled the Equal Protection Clause does not require absolute equality or precisely equal advantages in regards to school funding matters. Each state collects revenue for funding education in different ways. In 1994, Michigan overhauled its system with the passing of Proposal A. Revenue is collected through 6% sales tax, state income tax, state gaming tax, state lottery, and many more sources. Michigan puts all revenue for education into a special pot called the State School Aid Fund. All other state expenditures come from a separate pot. The intent was to keep education separate from other state needs. State funding accounts for over 45% of a school's budget. States may offset the differences that local governments raise for schools by giving more to one school district than another to provide more financial support for cash-strapped districts. However, there are no guidelines as to how much each state spends on education. As a result, the spending ranges vastly. In 2013, for example, New York, Alaska, and Wyoming each spent more than $17,000 per student, while many other states spent roughly half of that. Districts collect money in a variety of ways. Some of those ways are through property tax, mobile home trailer coach tax, commercial forest tax, low-grade iron ore specific tax, and industrial facilities tax. Districts don't all distribute their monies the same way. Some districts are more progressive than others. Progressive, in this case, means providing areas of high poverty with more school funding. School districts aren't funded based solely on property tax. This is important because it would be to the detriment of high poverty districts and their students. Districts rely heavily on property taxes to fund their schools. When an area is impoverished, property taxes fail to meet the needs of local schools. This perpetuates the achievement gap, especially for students of color. Some states are still not understanding the difference between equal funding and equitable funding. While equality means treating every student the same, equity means making sure every student has the support they need to be successful. Due to the complexities and inconsistencies of school funding in the U.S., our group remains undecided in our stance. More research is needed to make an educated argument for or against the current systems.